Hello and welcome to Stretford Paddock. This is the Paddock preview of Manchester United against PSG. Back in the Champions League, Jay. Back with a bang against last year's finalists. Back with a bang against the team that, let's be honest, we made a mockery of the last time we played them, didn't we? What are you thinking, Jay? Talk to me. How are you doing, first of all?
Feels like I've not done a video with you for years.
It's been ages.
It has. But never mind Howson and McCullough and all them lot.
Forget them.
Boys, you know.
Old news.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm good. I mean, don't want to get carried away with the Newcastle win, but it was good to get that, what turned out to be a pretty comprehensive win in the last 9 minutes.
Was Stephen.
Yes.
By some,
rum-fueled maniac.
Treated Uber driver. But we don't want to talk about that. The Newcastle game, but we will be sort of hinting towards potential turning form for Manchester United in a little bit. But this PSG game, first of all, how nice is it to be back in the Champions League? Let's face it, where we belong.
I mean, I've told this story before, but I'll tell it again. You know, I remember being in Stockholm, Europa League final. We lifted the trophy and saying to me, mate, that's fantastic. We complete the set. But I never want to see this competition again. And then lo and behold, 2 years later, you're back in it.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's not the same. You know yourself. I mean, and we sort of, as a United fan, you spoiled it. You just became used to being in the Champions League every year. It wasn't even a consideration. We're not going to be in it. From like 97 or 99 onwards, whenever it was, they made it where you didn't have to win the league to get in it. You thought, right, this is it. We're going to be here forever. But it's difficult sometimes to take. I mean, you saw it last season with the Europa League. Some of the games, I mean, it's like playing sort of League One teams, isn't it? But not the case in the Champions League. There's no easy games, as they say, Joe.
No. Yeah, the Champions League's like the shoe, and then in terms of the set, and then the Europa League sort of the laces, isn't it? Like, yes, your set looks a bit weird if you haven't got the laces in, but if you've only got laces, you look like a fucking nutter.
Definitely did not see that analogy coming.
No, you didn't see that one coming. Let's have a little look forward at some potential injuries. Seems to be the thing that we're talking a lot about before this game, specifically PSG injuries. Obviously, there's been rumoured injuries to Neymar, who has been now confirmed to be fit. We've heard of injuries to Verratti and Paredes, who both have been confirmed by Thomas Tuchel today that they won't be fit for tomorrow's game. Verratti is a key one, and we'll come back to that. There's also been injuries to Di Maria, to Thilo Kehrer as well in defence. They've had so many injuries in the last few weeks, and I think they had 9 players missing. They still won 4-0 at the weekend because that's the league they're in. But this is a team that is either coming back from injuries or struggling with injuries. Is now a good time to play PSG, do you think?
I just wonder if they started any petitions over these injuries. Have they tried to take anyone to court, or perhaps
let's redo the matches?
It's insane, seems like that's the only real way to deal with injuries nowadays. I mean, listen, you've named a load of players there that could be missing, and also some that are going to feature. And it's easy to dismiss it and go, they won 4-0 little weekend, but it's the Farmers League, as some people disparagingly call it. But regardless of who they're missing to a certain degree, you still expect a strong PSG team. They're still going to have a lot of threats. And you look at Kylian Mbappe, that's the one that I think most people will be talking about, and most people will fear, especially with United's defensive performances this season. He's the one that you really worry about because he's absolutely world class. So
he is good, and they've got Neymar, who's not bad as well.
Yeah, you almost forget. I heard you mention him, and then you said he wasn't. Then I forgot you said he's going to be in. Yeah, so that's just the two absolute superstars you've got to worry about then.
Well, Icardi's another one. Obviously, they bought him from Inter Milan this year, or maybe last season. They got him, and they've got him full time this season. He's another player who's an excellent goal scorer, but doesn't always get that many minutes. Like Choupo-Moting came on in the Champions League final ahead of Mauro Icardi, who I think they spent 50 million quid on from Inter Milan. This sort of Milan's captain, I think, at the time. Get him in 50 million quid. You got to bring someone on in the Champions League final to win you a game. Oh, remember him who used to play for Stoke who wasn't very good? Yes, bring Choupo-Moting on. I
think they did that just for the memes.
Just for the bands.
I think they
want to win the cup, wasn't it? That didn't work out.
Forget about that. See if we can go viral with this tweet, and with this substitution.
We're getting all these digs in at PSG now because we might not be able to in 48 hours' time. But you've got to stick the knife in while you still can. Speaking of stick the knife in, actually probably shouldn't use that as a segue, but Harry Maguire has been in some trouble over the last few months. But
although stabbing someone wasn't one of the crimes he was accused of.
That's true. He's been in trouble on and off the pitch mostly we're concerned about the on the pitch stuff. I think obviously they go hand in hand to a certain extent, but I would say he put in maybe his most important performance in a Manchester United shirt against Newcastle. Not necessarily his best. He didn't have too much to do defensively, but to go from large portions of both United and England fans thinking he should be dropped from the respective teams to he started. Oh, can he handle the pressure? He scores the goal to get us back in the game. Such a huge performance. Didn't put a foot wrong defensively either. There has been reports today from the MEN that both he, Harry Maguire, and Edinson Cavani haven't travelled to Paris with the squad. Now that could mean that they're travelling separately. It could mean that he's injured. It could mean that he's missing out. What do you think, first of all, to Maguire's performance against Newcastle? How do you think that sets him up for this PSG game? And will he be a loss if he isn't fit? Because, we talk a lot about he's not been in great form, but neither is Lindelof, neither is Bailly when he's played. So, yeah, talk to me a little bit about Harry Maguire.
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head when you said probably his most important performance. You're right, it wasn't his best performance. Newcastle are okay. They're not, I think Callum Wilson's a good striker. He's not an absolute world beater, and I thought Harry Maguire had a good game, but as you've mentioned, he's had better ones against better opposition. But no, he needed that. I mean, I thought he was going to get dropped. So I was saying that maybe he should get dropped, just take him out of the firing line. He obviously wanted to play. He played, got his goal, put in a good performance, just what he needed. I mean, he can take a little bit of confidence from that, a little bit of comfort from that, because although, okay, it's only Newcastle, and it's not the most important, the best team you're going to play, but he played well, and he needed that because he's not really been playing well this season. We know what happened on his holiday, and that's obviously affected him. He seems like the sort of player that, he isn't quite the sort of barnstorming, old school centre back that a lot of people claim he is. He isn't like that type of character. You can see it sort of got to him. But in answer to your other question, I think Manchester United need Harry Maguire. He has taken a lot of stick. People have been calling for him to be dropped, and I was one of those people that say maybe he should be rested. But I think for a game like this, you'd want him to start. I know that we didn't have him last time we played him. We had Chris Smalling and Lindelof and Bailly. I think then he changed it around, didn't he, and just had Lindelof.
Bailly came off.
Yeah, and Smalling at centre-back, obviously not got Smalling anymore. But Harry Maguire, there's a reason you paid 80 million. Okay, we overpaid for him, but he's an excellent defender. Let's not get it twisted here. He isn't a bad defender. He's very, very good. And United need him. And if he starts and plays to the best of his abilities, then we've got a good chance. You just worry that with the players you mentioned, Neymar and Mbappe, it could be a long night for him if he has one of them that he's had recently.
Yeah, and we always say this about Maguire. It's so well known that he's not the quickest lad. He's not the quickest lad. I mean, physically, not mentally. I don't want to comment on his mental status, but physically, over the first 20 yards, he isn't Mbappe. And it's a shame that we're playing, Mbappe is literally in the seat of who's the reference point for a fast footballer? It's Mbappe, and he is actually the person that we're playing tomorrow. So there's a bit of a potential worry there. But one thing I will say about Maguire, thinking back through last season and this season, other than that Bergwijn goal where he just knocked it past him and ran past him because he drifted between two positions, didn't he, between him and Lindelof, he doesn't really get caught out for pace that much. That's, I think, a testament to his quality as a defender. But are you worried that just the sheer pace of this PSG team, we've got Di Maria as well, who's not as quick as he once was, but certainly over those first 10 yards is one of the sort of, is very direct and sort of a bright kind of starter, isn't he? Same with Mbappe, obviously, who's quick over any distance. And Neymar as well is also a speedy customer, as people might say. Are you a bit worried about the pace of PSG specifically in this game? I
am very much so because, like you said, I mean, you pointed out that game against Spurs, and people sort of get a little bit carried away with Maguire. And I've heard some sort of revisionist about his season last season. He didn't have a great season last season, or he wasn't very good. Of course he was. Harry Maguire had a good season last season. People are talking about trying to say, oh, he was awful. Well, he wasn't at all. United's defence, by and large, was pretty good. It was just, we had a couple of wobbly moments. I think there was the junior Stanislav's goal as well against Bournemouth. But it was the case of, the thing with Harry Maguire is he doesn't concede a lot of goals, or United don't concede a lot of goals because of him. It's just the one or two that were his fault, or he was to blame slightly, are pretty bad to watch. They look quite comical, and it's like he opens himself up to a little bit of stick. Not his fault, but because of the price tag and the fact he's captain. So it does worry me slightly, but I think Harry Maguire reads the game very well. Yeah. Let's not forget, this is a guy that got his move to Manchester United from Leicester with the same pace that he's got now. He wasn't rapid at Leicester. No. And I saw him go to the Etihad and to Anfield and places like that against very good strikers and have a very good game. against quick, fast strikers who can turn you inside and out, and he had a very good game. So it's not like he's always relied on his pace and his pace has suddenly deserted him. He reads the game very well, and he's not the quickest, but he's not ridiculously slow where he can barely move. So as long as his confidence is there, I think he's a confidence player. Harry Maguire. As long as his head doesn't drop and he sort of, he can just believe in himself, then I think he can handle it. But his teammates have got to help him out as well. So depending on, we're going to get to the team a little bit later, but if it's Victor Lindelof or it's Eric Bailly, whoever it is alongside him, they've got to be able to pick up the slack as well if he does get turned.
And there's so many things that we could talk about in this game. Because the season was we had such a bad start to the season. There is this sort of history with PSG. We do have some players that have played for both. There is a lot we could talk about. So I'm trying to sort of pick the most key topics here. Cavani is one that we can't not mention because obviously we've just signed him. He's been at PSG for I think 4 or 5 years now since he moved there from Napoli. One of the best strikers in the world in his day, rather than on his day. I think maybe those days are behind him now, but certainly more goals than the rest of the United squad put together. Vast experience, one of the best strikers of the last decade. Playing against his former team again, there've been reports in the MN that he hasn't travelled with the squad, which is potentially concerning, but you see that occasionally where they'll turn up separately or they'll come later or they've got some other obligation, so they'll get the flight late. That's not unheard of.
We're not going to Istanbul here, are we?
No,
it's Paris. It's not exactly like the other side of Europe.
You could cycle there if you're a big cyclist.
That's probably good match preparation.
200 miles? Easy.
I'll just get it, cycled.
But he's going to be a big topic tomorrow. Anthony Martial's been out of the United side through suspension. Obviously, didn't play against Newcastle from his red card against Tottenham. Do you think the fact that he's not played means he's certain to start with Martial? Or do you think, well, neither of them have played, Cavani's maybe got a point to prove? Is there a potential that we'll see either Cavani from the start or one of those subs that this is going to happen at some point?
It's weird, isn't it? Because they've both got points to prove in a way. Anthony Martial, it's obviously he's French lad. He's going, it's in Paris. Like you say, he got sent off. He didn't play against Newcastle. He's even scored this season. He's not, he's not having a great start to the season. So he'll have a point to prove. Then you've got Cavani. It's against his old club, so he's got a point to prove. But I think Ollie, for me, I know we'll get to the sort of the 11s in a minute, but we'll revert to what he knows best, and that is Anthony Martial. I think that's a player he likes, he trusts. Don't forget, Ollie, even despite Lukaku's sort of heroics in Paris, more or less dropped him. Yeah. And went with Martial and Rashford as his main two attackers with another on the right, whether it's Greenwood or James or whoever. So I think he'll go back with Martial, but I expect Cavani to feature. I don't think there's any way, even if he doesn't start, that he's not going to get a game.
He'll get 20 minutes no matter what.
Even if Ollie didn't want to do it, I think he's got to, because that would just be like a bit of a nightmare for Cavani to go back there and not even get a kick.
And not just is it his former club, and whenever you're a team facing, any time a former striker of United would come and play against us, you think, there we go. Whether it's what's his name for Bournemouth, who United tried to sign the other week,
Josh King,
who scored against United a couple of times, or Tevez, or whoever it may be, Rooney even. You think, he's going to score.
Yeah.
And then maybe some of that's more suspicious and sort of superstition than anything. But if you're a PSG fan, you'd be thinking, Cavani will score in this game. The only thing I'm thinking with Cavani is, even if you take away that whole he's a former PSG player, he also offers something that no one else offers. He's good in the air. His build-up play, whilst Martial's has improved, his build-up play is excellent. He's much more industrious than any of our other strikers, I think, even including Martial, who has, again, transformed that side of his game. He's a harder worker. He's the sort of player who you can play him against PSG and he will run for 90 minutes and then he might nod a header in at the last minute as well. Whereas we don't really have someone of that style at the minute. I think just for that reason, he almost is certain to get minutes unless he's injured, like you said. But it's not just a case of, here's a bit of sympathy, or here's a bit of, let's pretend that you're going to score because it's against PSG. He actually is different and better at certain things than our current players as well, which is obviously why we got him. But I think a lot of people are sort of talking like, well, he's only going to play because he used to play for them. But he's actually a good option as well. He's a good player.
It's good as well because the sort of, when you have a substitute or someone that comes on, even if Cavani starts and Martial then comes on for him or the other way around, they're almost completely different. And you want that. You want the defender to have something different to think about when he's facing an opponent. Not always just more of the same, but fresh legs. But it's a similar type player. It's you face Cavani, who, like you say, he's a bit more sort of stronger and bigger, better in the air or whatever, and then all of a sudden, now you've got Martial who's trying to turn you, or vice versa. Yeah. It's making your life difficult, and obviously, hopefully, making life easier for Manchester United. So, yeah, I mean, it is good that we have a striker who is different, because although we all bought into the sort of the Odion Ighalo romantic tale of this mad United fan who, when it looked like he'd missed the chance, comes to the club, scores some great goals. You wouldn't want Ighalo, or you wouldn't fancy Ighalo playing against Paris Saint-Germain, but you definitely fancy Edinson Cavani.
Yeah, definitely. It's the different, the whole careers have been different. One of them's one of the best strikers in the world for the last 10 years, and one of them came to United and did the job we wanted him to do, which you can't fault him for, but there's a bit of a level difference there, isn't there? Let's move on to our predicted 11s, because we'll talk about some details of more certain players as we go on. You go first, Jay. Tell us who you think's starting tomorrow.
I think I've learned the hard way that Ollie often reverts to type, because I've been coming up with some crazy predicted 11 adults playing like 3-4-3 and all sorts, and it's never come to fruition. So I think Ollie's going to go with what he knows best. So David De Gea in goal, who I thought had very good game against Newcastle. You might, if you were nitpicking, maybe blame him for the own goal a little bit, but he more than made up for it with that fantastic save later on. So I'm going to go with David De Gea in goal. I'm going to go with Luke Shaw left back. I'll go with Victor Lindelof and Harry Maguire at centre back. I know we've spoken about Harry Maguire's not travel, but we don't know the ins and outs. He could just be the MEN looking for clicks. Aaron Wan-Bissaka at right back. I've gone for 2 holding midfielders. I just feel that because it's the away leg, I know this is a groups game, but you know what I mean. And also the fact that, as the players you've mentioned for Paris, that they've got so many attacking options, even with injuries. I just feel Ollie might want to sort of give us that little bit of extra security. So I've gone with 2 holding midfielders in Nemanja Matic and Fred, although I was sort of in 2 minds whether that could have been McTominay. So it's like a 4-2-3-1. The next 3 is Marcus Rashford on the left, Bruno in the middle, Paul Pogba on the right. I know that's not exactly how we used to see them set up, but I feel that though Marcus likes to play on the left hand side, a bit more movement. Maybe Pogba can sort of cut in on and Pogba can use his left or his right anyway. And up top, I've gone with Anthony Martial. I know we were mentioning Edinson Cavani. I expect him to feature, but as I've said earlier, I think Ollie may just sort of go with the players that he trusts and knows, and Anthony Martial has always been his guy, hasn't he, really? So that's why I've gone with him up top.
Very nice. I've gone quite a similar team, to be honest, because, as you said, we do tend to see Ole in the big games resort to the players that he trusts, which a lot of managers do the same thing. So I've gone De Gea, Wan-Bissaka, Lindelof, Maguire, Shaw, and then I've gone... It's basically, that team that did the great run at the end of last season?
Yeah.
There it is. Then we've got Pogba and Matic holding, Greenwood coming back, who we'll have a little discussion about that as well, because there's been certain rumours that have gone round about why he wasn't involved at the weekend. Then Fernandes, Rashford and Martial as well. Very similar teams. You've gone for Fred over Greenwood and then switched that around. But other than that, we're basically in agreement that the likes of Pogba is going to come back, the likes of Martial is going to come back into the first team, and no start for Telles or for Cavani there. Let's talk a little bit about Mason Greenwood. Without repeating any rumours that are baseless and we don't really know anything about it, do you think the fact that he didn't play against Newcastle will mean he was either being rested, or whether he's rested or he's being left out for certain reasons or not? Do you think he's got a chance still of playing against PSG?
I do, and I just wonder whether Ollie might think, for even though Mason Greenwood's come on leaps and bounds, he's obviously one of the most naturally gifted players around. I just wonder whether Ollie still has that little bit in him where he's thinking he's still a teenager. He's still early on in his career. I've got to handle him with kid gloves a little bit. So maybe this is a game where you bring him on. I mean, I think what's sort of given me a little bit of comfort in both our teams, when I looked at your team, looked at mine, is you think that we've both still left ourselves options, or United now have options on the bench. Yeah. Whether it's Mason Greenwood, whether it's Donny van der Beek, whether it's
Cavani.
Yeah. It's
nice, isn't it?
Do you know what I mean? We've gone from we didn't seem that long ago where it was the likes of Jesse Lingard and Dan James who were having to rely on no respect to them, but they're not in the same league as the players that potentially could have on our bench against Paris. So in answer to the Greenwood question, I just think Ollie might be... I mean, I don't know anything about... I know what you're alluding to. I don't know anything about it, so I'm just going to take it what I do know. And I know that Ollie... He's always handled Mason in a sort of... Not a cautious way, but he's brought him in gradually, and the way he's... don't forget Mason, he got on the pitch against Paris all that time ago, didn't he? Over there. And then he brought him in sort of gradually at a time when we were short strikers as well. He didn't rush him in. He brought him in towards the end of the season, obviously reaped the benefits. So I'm hoping that that's the case in we might see Mason come on later on and hopefully score loads of goals and get us the win.
You mentioned it there, Jay, and it wouldn't be fair to go this whole video without having a little discussion. There has been this storyline around PSG for years that we, let's be honest, added to this storyline. They're mentally weak, Jay. Now, first of all, do you subscribe to the idea that they're weak? Or do you think that they've just been a little bit unlucky? They don't have the best practice week in, week out compared to certain teams in terms of winning the Champions League. They got to the final last year, which is pretty good. Do you think the fact that we did the famous victory, we've done a victory on them? We've done a wicked victory. Do you think that victory 2 years ago will play any part in these two games? Obviously, it's not a knockout game. These are group stage matches. We can. I don't want to say you want to drop points, but you can afford to not win every single match in a group stage and still go through. Or do you think it'll just that's gone now? A lot of the players are still there. It's very similar teams for both teams.
I think the only sort of slight thing I would say about that is, I think maybe there was an element, and I'm certainly not disparaging what we achieved when we beat them.
You dare say, look.
No, I wasn't. I was going to say, the fact that we went there 2 goals down, we didn't have Paul Pogba who was suspended. I think Paris Saint-Germain may have just sort of got into the game thinking they were already through. And I think now they may show us a little bit more respect in the sense that they're going to go into this game saying, listen, this is a good United team. We've been here before where they did us over. This time they have got all these players we mentioned, plus Paul Pogba, who's absolutely revered in France, so they might take it a little bit more seriously. So that's the only way I could see it maybe featuring a little bit, but I don't think it's going to be like, the Paris Saint-Germain players are going to go out hell for leather because they suddenly got a point to prove or anything like that, or that United are going to go out thinking, this is our stadium, we've done all this before.
So do you think that this is potentially the football equivalent of when Matt Serra beat GSP, and then in the rematch, GSP battered him? Funnily enough, GSP backwards, PSG. So great little analogy there. Do you think we've punched the bully and now they're like, you just punched me, and then they're going to do us? Do you think that's like?
I'm glad you used an analogy that I understand, because I don't know who the other people are you're talking about.
Yeah, I gave it a bully one instead, so you could know it.
So I can join in.
Yeah. Are you a bit worried that they've got a real point to prove now? Is what I'm saying.
I don't know about whether they've got a point to prove, because are they going to go out thinking, right, I think they might go out thinking, right, we've got to show this team more respect. We're aware of what they're capable of because we've been here before. But like I said earlier, I don't necessarily think they're going to go try a little bit harder because of what happened.
Also, they already had a point to prove. It was getting in the Champions League quarterfinal. Like, if you ever had a point to prove, that was it. The idea that they can just... I've seen people online say, better watch out now. They're a different team to what you faced 2 years ago. You think they were trying as hard as they could then.
Yeah, it wasn't like it's only the Champions League.
Yeah, it's only the Champions League.
We're not bothered.
The tournament we famously have horrific comeback defeats in. Oh, we'll take this one easy, shall we, boys? We've never been here before. 2-0 down, 2-0 up after the first leg. Feet up, bitches. I don't think they were saying that last time. I'm not saying they won't beat us, but the idea that they weren't really trying last time because you just think they tried really hard and we beat them anyway.
They tried really hard, and I think they got a little bit shell shocked by the start that we had. Oldham getting the curly finger from Stephen Alson.
Yeah. Let us know at home though. Give us your team predictions. Give us your score predictions as well. Funnily enough, before the Newcastle game, when we were asking for score predictions, a lot of people were predicting losses to Newcastle, and hopefully. The biggest thing that came from that game is a slight turn in mentality from the fans and from the players. Maybe a little bit of confidence is coming back. Give me a score prediction before we go.
I'm going to go with 3-2 to Manchester United.
Flipping the table.
I think a clean sheet is out of the question, but I still fancy us to win.
I think it's going to be really difficult. I'm going to go 1-1. I think we're going to be doing a lot of defending. I think we might see the best of Harry Maguire sat back a bit. Hopefully less time and less opportunity for him to be caught for pace. Not that he does very often anyway. And maybe a counter-attack goal. Cavani nodding one in last minute.
Can I just ask you quickly? Mm-hmm. Do you feel slightly, I know it's only been one game, but a little bit redeemed with Harry Maguire? Because you've always stuck up for him. And I know a lot of people been like, haven't, and you've always been like,
I do a little
on
bit
social, on videos, saying, you know what, give this guy a break, and he's a great defender, a good defender, and, doesn't deserve a lot of stick.
And mostly because, I know, and not to try to knock Bailly or Lindelof, but we don't have that many great alternatives. It's not
everyone wanted Bailly, didn't it?
We've got Maldini on the bench.
Spurs game, and then after the Spurs game, I was like, actually,
what you do? We've got Maldini on the bench. No, we haven't got Maldini on the bench. So I think he's our best. I think he's our best centre back, and he proved that last season. Anyway, that's going to be all from us. Again, get your predicted 11s, get your predicted score lines in the comments below. Let us know if we've been stupid with our predictions. We've played it a bit safe, really, haven't we?
Yeah, man. We're never stupid, me and you.
Yeah, exactly.
We're cleverer than that.
Exactly. Manchester United face Paris Saint-Germain at the Parc des Princes.
Parc des Princes.
I never know how to
My
say
kids are learning French, actually. Just as an aside that's got no relevance to anything.
Teach them, you can teach them what...
Learning at school, by the way. We're not one of those parents.
Did he show the penalty in French lessons in Manchester these days? Is that what they do?
Now look at Marcus. Hey, look at that Diogo Dalot there.
Slammed it in. There's your French lesson. Fuck off. Anyway, that's going to be all from us. We'll be back tomorrow for all the match day build-up, of course. Team news, watch-along, review, fan cams. Me, Adam, and Stephen will be here for the watch-along. Jay's going to be here for the review. All sorts going on the Stretford Paddock. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you in a bit.